Welcome to 5 Minutes in the Word, a daily devotional in the Word of God. Well, when we look in the Psalms, we see a lot about God. The writers of Psalms, really just show us, God's nature, His characteristics, and a lot about who He is. And so, in this Psalm 50 today, what do we see about God?
Well, to me, and of course, I may be under the wrong assumption here, but it seems like God is, in this psalm in particularly, he's not necessarily no nonsense, but he's very serious in what he's about to go through.
It's like a judge or something like that.
Precisely. That's what Psalm 50 is about. Like in the ESV, it has titled here, "God Himself is Judge."
Okay.
And I've never been in a courtroom while court was in session, but
Right.
I've seen and heard of there's no nonsense going on when court is in session, and that's due to the fact that this is kind of serious and what's being discussed here. But starting in verse 1, the mighty one, God the Lord, speaks and summons the earth from the rising of the sun to its setting. Out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, God shines forth. Our God comes, He does not keep silence. Before Him is a devouring fire, around Him a mighty tempest. He calls to the heavens above and to the earth that He may judge His people. Gather to me, O faithful ones. He made a covenant with me by sacrifice. The heavens declare His righteousness, for God Himself is judge. Now here, the psalmist is basically laying this out as a call to judgment. And of course, we know that one day Christ is going to come back, and then the judgment will commence from there.
Absolutely.
And that's one court. That's one court date that we can't miss.
No,
whether we have a say so or we don't have a say so in that.
Right, it's a universal summons. We're all getting summoned to court, and we will face the judge, and our sentence will be carried out.
Yeah, and that's kind of unique too, because everyone has a sentence.
Right.
But it's just dependent upon how good or bad that sentence is.
Right.
Continuing on, verse 7's kind of unique in that it's literally the little title of this section, in that I will speak. Here, verse 7, "Hear, O my people, and I will speak. O Israel, I will testify against you. I am God, your God. Not for your sacrifices do I rebuke you. Your burnt offerings are continual before me. I will not accept a bull from your house, or goats from your folds, or or every beast of the forest is mine. For every beast of the forest is mine, the cattle on 1,000 hills. I know all the birds of the hills, and all the moves in the field is mine. If I were hungry, I will not tell you, for the world and its fullness are mine. Do I eat the flesh of bulls, or drink the blood of goats? Offer to God a sacrifice of thanksgiving, and perform your vows to the Most High. And I will call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me." I kind of imagine this in that God as the judge, and court may be a little unruly, so He bangs the gavel and says, "I will speak. This is my courtroom. I will have control over this." Just that one phrase, that is what it tells to me. But in the heart of this, verses 9 through 11, I kind of jump forth to me at this idea. Of course, we read 7 and 8, and kind of giving forth this idea of, yes, you're doing this, but it's not necessarily right. 9 through 11 kind of flash back to Psalm 19. And Psalm 19 kind of alludes to this idea of hypocrisy, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
"Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer." To me, for a modern application, this would essentially be formalism or hypocrisy. Formalism, as in we're doing all the right things, but our heart's not in it.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of it's vain, and then it's not it's not sincere. It's not from a right place. It's a lot of just emptiness.
It's worshiping out of necessity and not necessarily desire.
Right.
And that's kind of what gives forth to me, and that idea of formalism or hypocrisy continues on, where God is kind of talking to, I guess, the righteous here, saying that you're doing the right things, but your heart may not be in it all the time. And then He turns and says, "Now to the wicked." In verse 16, "But to the wicked, God says, what right have you to recite my statuses or take my covenant upon your lips. For you hate discipline and you cast my words behind you. If you see a thief, you are pleased with him, and you keep company with adulterers. And you give your mouth free rein for evil, and your tongue frames deceit. You sit and speak against your brother. You slander your own mother's son. These things you have done, and I have been silent. You thought that I was one like yourself, but now I rebuke you and lay the charge before you. Now, it's kind of elaborating a little bit more on that formalism or hypocrisy. Formalism is doing the right things, but not for the right reason, and hypocrisy is the exact opposite. And I think each of these examples that the psalmist used is a good illustration of both, really, of how even righteous people kind of fall victim to those different ideas and those different, I guess I can call them slippages, if that's a word.
I don't know if that's a word. We understand the concept, I mean, it's, we're all tempted by things. We're all lured by different things. And, the righteous can fall into a period of hypocrisy and not doing what they know what they should do, not even doing what they preach, not living up to those things, or, just doing things, but doing them out of vanity, out of emptiness, out of lacking sincerity. All those things can corrupt the best of person. And I think that you see in here that he's trying to call attention to some of that and just let them know, hey, you need to follow after God.
And the conclusion, the last two verses of this psalm hit home with exactly what you just said. Mark this, then, you who forget God, lest I tear you apart and there be none to deliver. The one who offers thanksgiving as his sacrifice glorifies me. To one who orders his way rightly, I will show the salvation of God. And I think that's, if we enact daily that last phrase of verse 23, the other 22 verses that we read won't be a problem. If our goal is every single day to show the salvation of God, the hope that we have in it, then we won't fall victim to those different things.
Absolutely. And so we need to offer up praise to God, as it says here in this verse, but we need to do so in the right kind of way, to where it's true praise before Him. And if we do that, it will be pleasing to Him. He will be accepting of our lives, of our worship, of everything that we do, and we will have that salvation that He has promised.